Dear students, welcome to Insight Academy. In today's session, we are going to have a discussion of your Indian history and culture test paper for GS Prelims. I hope all of you have attempted the test paper, all of you have checked your marks. Kindly keep your paper with you so that you can match the answers and you can see the mistakes that you somehow committed, and always find out the pattern of mistakes, because everyone has a pattern of committing certain mistakes. Sometimes you do not read question properly. Sometimes you end up taking a wrong answer even if you know the right answer. Sometimes you take the kind of answer for granted. Maybe you don't read all the answers, all the options properly. You think, okay, first one is the correct answer. Always remember, in UPSC, you don't have to worry about the right answer. You have to worry about the best answer. And best answer is one step above the right answer. Because at times you may have two options as correct options. And in that situation, when two options are correct options, you have to pick up the best among the available options. So your job is to find out the best answer, not just the right answer. So read all the options properly. As always, this paper has 100 questions. And out of these 100 MCQs, first 80 are related to the subject, that is Indian history and culture here. And the last 20 are related to the current developments. Current developments are picked up from the topics which are given in your test schedule. The time period or the period of current development that is mentioned in schedule, only that we have picked up here. Let's start your discussion here. Question number 1. In the context of social life, during Rigvedic age, read the following statements carefully. During Rigvedic period, the society was matriarchal in nature and polygamy was commonly practiced. The society during Rigvedic age was patriarchal. In later Vedic age also, the Indian society was patriarchal. Father was the head of family, and father, also known as Kulapa. Family was known as Kul, and the head of family was known as Kulapa. So father, being head of family, was representing the members of family in larger socio-cultural and political interactions. So society was not matriarchal, society was patriarchal in character. Polygamy was practiced, but it was not a common practice. It was only among the elites or the kind of the ruling segments of population. Though polygamy was known. In polygamy, there were two kind of formats: polygyny. Polygyny means multiple wives, and polyandry. Polyandry means multiple husbands. So there were polygyny, there were polyandry. Polyandry was less common. Polygyny was more common relatively within the kind of category of polygamy. So it was practiced but not very common. So first statement here is wrong. In Rigvedic period, women were given equal opportunities as men for their spiritual and intellectual development. Perfectly correct. Women used to receive education. The girls used to go to Gurukulas for education. We have reference of a number of women scholars who composed even the hymns of Rigveda. The women scholars like Apala, Ghosha, Lobamudra, Viswara, they were highly educated. Some of the women used to receive education for whole of their life. And the term you have to remember, those women were known as Brahmavadini. So Brahmavadini was a woman who used to pursue education for whole of her life. Very important terms for prelims, remember it. Number 3, the social divisions were not rigid during Rigvedic period. Perfectly correct. Varna-based social stratification was followed, but it was not very well established. The Varna status of an individual was decided on the basis of profession, and by changing profession, anybody could change his Varna status. There is a reference in Rigveda. One of the hymns carries the kind of personal life of a person. He says that, or in that hymn, the person says that I am a bard. Bard means poet. My father is a physician. My mother grinds corn. We belong to 3 different varnas by virtue of our profession, but still believe together as the members of same family. It means even the members of one single family could belong to different varnas during Rigvedic age. So it was liberal, it was flexible. The Rigveda does not mention any officer for administration justice. That's correct. Judicial legal system was not very well developed. King was the judge. King used to decide issues on the basis of customs and tradition. A number of crimes such as adultery and theft are mentioned in Rigvedic Samhita, but there was no proper well-developed judicial system. There was no specific judicial officer other than the king. So this is correct here. So except number 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct here. Option here is D. So read questions carefully. Do not rush through. You have plenty of time. Do not commit mistake on that question which you can solve. Always avoid silly mistakes, because everyone, in spite of whatever the care you take here, you will have 2 or 3 silly mistakes. Make that 0. That is what champions are supposed to do. Champions will not commit a silly mistake. Always keep that in mind. Consider the following events from ancient period in India. Accession of Kanishka. You have to look for chronological order, so it means you should know the time period of these events. Kanishka sat on throne. He was the most powerful Kushana king, 78 AD. Accession of Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya founded Mauryan Empire in 324 BC, 324 BC or 321 BC. There are 2 dates which are estimated by historians. Invasion of Alexander a couple of years before him, say 326 BC. Establishment of Indo-Greek rule in India. Indo-Greeks in 2nd century BC. First Indo-Greek invasion happened in 206 BC. So after 206 BC, gradually Indo-Greeks established their rule in India. So arrange them chronologically. 3, 2, 4, 1. That's the order. 3, 2, 4, 1. Option is D. So questions are simple, but you have to pay attention. If you kind of guess things, if you make things casual, if you take question lightly, there's a very, very high chance you'll end up committing mistake. So read carefully, go slow. With reference to the socio-economic life prevalent during Chola period, read the following statements. Caste system was widely prevalent during this period. Caste system was there in Chola age, definitely. Caste system, this was carried from North India during Sangam age, and by Chola period it was very well established. There were upper castes, there were low castes. The position of women did not improve, and this led to emergence of Devdasi system. Devdasi was a temple dancer. Over the period of time, these temple dancers became temple prostitutes. So Devdasis were maintained in temples for the entertainment of temple deity. That was a theoretical kind of description of system, but ultimately that degenerated into temple prostitution. Chola rulers maintained good commercial relations with Chinese and Southeast Asian nations. Definitely Chola rulers exchanged embassies with China. Chola king Kulotunga first sent an embassy of 72 merchants to China, so they were having very, very active and close relations with China and Southeast Asian countries. All the 3 are correct here. How many are correct? So all 3 are correct. Option is D. Question number 4. Buddhist councils were held under the patronage of various rulers, chaired by different monks and at different places. With reference to this, consider following pairs. Buddhist council. First Buddhist council was held at Rajagriha. Second Buddhist council was held at Vaishali. Third Buddhist council was held at Patliputra. And fourth council was held at Kashmir. Kashmir, Kundalwan, recent researches have revealed that. So always remember, that is a very important point. This fourth Buddhist council was held in Harwan monastery. Harwan is a place in Kashmir Valley near Srinagar. So Kundalwan was the name of forest where this meeting happened. And a specific place was Harwan monastery. How many of these pairs are correctly matched? So how many are matched? Only 1 is correctly matched. 2, 3, and 4 are incorrect here. Only 1 pair. In the context of Harappan civilization, consider following statements. The stone statues found at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are excellent examples of handling of 3-dimensional volumes. 3-dimensional means the sculpture has height, sculpture has width, and sculpture also has depth. The way we are a reflection of 3D entities. So these were very, very high quality 3-dimensional sculptures. For example, think of the sculpture of bearded priest found at Mohenjo-daro. The statue of a girl popularly known as a dancing girl was found at Mohenjo-daro. Perfectly correct. The dancing girl is made of bronze. Dancing girl made of bronze was found at Mohenjo-daro, and dancing girl made of steatite was found at Harappa. So remember that. This popular dancing girl or the bronze dancing girl, also known as Mona Lisa of India, at present kept in National Museum, Delhi. This was found in the city of Mohenjo-daro, but there was another statue of dancing girl made of steatite, soft stone, that was found at Harappa. So differentiate the two. Correct. The art of bronze casting was very well practiced. Bronze was used by Harappans on a large scale. The quality of Harappan bronze was slightly less or slightly poor when we compare with the Mesopotamian, Sumerian civilizations, but they used bronze on a large scale. And bronze casting method was very well developed. They used lost wax method. Remember that term, lost wax method was used by Harappans to make their bronze sculptures or metal sculptures. In lost wax method, they used to make a sculpture of wax first, and then insulating material was coated over it. For example, clay was coated over that. If they wanted to have a solid sculpture, then molten metal was filled into it. Wax will come out after getting melted. And then if they wanted to have a hollow sculpture, they will put layers of molten metal on the clay or the insulating material surface from the outside. So hollow image or the solid sculptures both were made by using lost wax method. This continued to be used throughout history. This is used even today. The Nataraja sculptures, the bronze Nataraja sculptures of Chola period were also made by using the same method. These bronze sculptures of Nataraja are world famous for their artistic beauty. So 1 to correct, 3rd is wrong, option is A. Question number 6, which of the following literary sources talk about Mauryan period? Indica was composed by Megasthenes. Megasthenes was ambassador of Bactrian king Seleucus Nicator. He lived in the court of Chandragupta Maurya for 5 years from 304 BC to 299 BC. He composed his observations in this book Indica. Though this book is lost, is not found today, is not available today, but references are found in the later Greco-Roman sources such as Aelian, such as works of Arrian. Aelian wrote various history, important source you should remember. Arrian wrote Indica, another book with the same name, but this is a different book. Mudra Raksas, composed by Vishakadatta in 6th century AD during Gupta period, it talks about Mauryan age. Mudra means stamp, Raksas means the name of the Prime Minister of Dhanananda. So a stamp of Dhanananda or seal of Dhanananda was stolen somehow by Chandragupta Maurya and Kautilya. That seal was used by them to instigate a revolt against King Dhanananda. With the help of that seal, they could use the army of Dhanananda against him. Malvika Agnimitram is a book of Gupta period but talks about Agnimitra and Malvika. Agnimitra was son and successor of Pushyamitra Sunga. So this is a post-Mauryan period phenomena or the post-Mauryan period source. Mahavansh, Deepvansh, Mahavansh, they talk about Mauryan age. Arthashastra, Kautilya's book, is the most important source of Mauryan history. So 145 belong to Mauryan age. 1, 2, 4, 5 belong to Mauryan age except 3. 1, 2, 4, 5. This is A. 7. Which of the following principles were part of Dhamma propagated by Mauryan ruler Ashoka? Dhamma, Ashoka's Dhamma often kind of interpreted as a religion, though this was not a religion. Dhamma was an ethical moral code of conduct propounded by Ashoka for the benefit, for the all-round progress of his subjects. Dhamma emphasized ahimsa, non-violence. Reverence for teachers, respecting teachers, elders was a fundamental principle. There was no brahmacharya here. Brahmacharya was the part of philosophy of Jainism propounded by Mahavira. So brahmacharya was one of the principles, 5 vows of Jaina religion. Tolerance among religions, respecting each other, that was important principle. Service to father and mother, all these were important principles. So this was not a religion, this was basically an ethical moral code of conduct propounded by Ashoka for the all-round progress and well-being of his subjects. 1, 2, 4, 5. Kanishka was the most powerful ruler of Kushan Empire. With reference to that, consider following statements. The coins issued by him exhibit images of not only Buddha but also Greek and Hindu deities. Perfectly correct. Indian deities, Greek deities, Iranian deities, all were portrayed. That indicates that the empire of Kanishka was having population of different socio-religious backgrounds. During the reign of Kanishka, Buddha was worshipped with the flowers, garments, perfumes, lamps, and this form of worship came to be known as Hinayana. This form of worship came to be known as Mahayana Buddhism. Hinayana Buddhists consider Buddha as a teacher. Mahayanists consider Buddha as a god. The Hinayanists did not worship Buddha. They worshipped Buddhist symbols such as stupa, empty throne, footmarks, all those kind of things, wheel, people tree or Buddha tree. They did not worship sculptures. Mahayanists worship sculpture because they consider Buddha as a god. He convened Buddhist council to discuss matters related to Buddhism, Buddhist theology, and doctrine under the presidency of Vashumitra. That's perfectly correct. Vashumitra was the president. Ashughosh was the vice president. So that name also you should remember. In this we have president as well as vice president. Ashughosh was vice president. Vashumitra was the president. President of all the 4 Buddhist assemblies you should know because these assemblies are asked in prelims repeatedly. Option here is 2 is wrong, 1 and 3, that is C. Gandhara School of Art was one of the ancient India's most important schools of art, and in this regard read the following statements carefully. The main theme of this art school was the new form of Buddhism known as Mahayanism. Perfectly correct, because the sculptures were made by Gandhara artists and his sculptures were made under the influence of new religious philosophy that was Mahayanism propounded by the liberal monks. The real patrons of this school of art were Shakas, Satavahanas and Kushanas. Shakas were there, but not Satavahanas. Kushanas were there. Satavahanas were in Deccan, not in northwestern part. Satavahanas patronized Amravati School of Art. So they were not in northwestern, so try to keep in mind the geographical location of Gandhara school, Pakistan, Afghanistan area of today were covered by this school. It was a blend of Indian and Greco-Roman elements, perfectly correct. That's why it was known as Greco-Buddhist or Indo-Roman or Greco-Roman School of Art, because many of the elements of Greco-Roman world were absorbed or adopted by the artists of Gandhara school. For example, long ears, earlobes are long, curly hair, muscular body, transparent cloth, choga-like or the toga-like dress. Then ornaments, Buddha was depicted like Greek god Apollo, physical beauty of very high order or the highest order was depicted here. All these were the Greco-Roman elements. 1 and 3 correct. How many are correct? 1 and 3. So 2 basically, 2 are correct. With reference to schools, scholars and various literary sources, text written by them, consider following pairs. Kalidas was author of Malvika Agnimitra, Malvika and Agnimitra's story. Vishakadatta was not the author of Mrichkatikam. Vishakadatta wrote Devi Chandraguptam and Mudra Raksasa. Mrichkatikam was written by Shudrak. So, all the important text you should remember. Dandin did not write Kirtarjuniya. Bhairavi wrote Kirtarjuniya. Dandin wrote Dasa Kumara Charita. Vishnu Sharma wrote the most famous book that is translated in different languages of the world. Vishnu Sharma wrote Panchtantra. So, Kavyadarsh is one of the books of Dandin. So that way, this is wrong. Second, third, fourth are not matched. First is rightly matched. How many pairs are correctly matched? Only 1 pair. With reference to Jainism, consider following statements. It is spread to regions of South India under the leadership of Bhadrabahu. This is a story in Parishisht Parvana. Parishisht Parvana is a book written by Jaina monk Hemchandra. Hemchandra lived in 12th century in the court of Kumara Pala Chalukya or Kumara Pala Solanki of Gujarat. So in his book Parishit Parwana, he wrote about the spread of Jainism into south. He wrote that in the last years of the reign of Chandragupta Maurya, there was a massive famine in North India. Chandragupta Maurya tried hard to help people during that famine, but he could not really find a solution to that problem. Monks of Jainism were also finding it difficult to live under a strict code of rules during that period of famine. So differences emerged among the monks. Liberal monks wanted that they should be allowed to wear clothes, they should be allowed to modify their food habits a little bit so that they could survive. These liberal monks were headed by Stulabhadra. And the orthodox monks headed by Bhadrabahu, they said, we will not change anything, we will be following Jainism strictly. If it was not possible to follow in North India, then we'll go to some other area. So they went to South India. Chandragupta Maurya renounced his throne, abdicated his throne in favor of his son Bindusara, and he also left to south. There is Chandragiri Hill or Shravanbelgola in Karnataka, where Chandragupta Maurya died by performing Sallikhana. Sallikhana is a typical Jaina practice of dying through gradual starvation or death through starvation. So Bhadrabahu carried Jainism to South India. Jainas who remained under the leadership of Bhadrabahu, not Bhadrabahu, Stulbhadra, were known as Swetambara. So his followers of Stulbhadra started wearing white cloth. So white clad means Swetambara, Swet hai ambar jiska. And those who did not wear anything, they continued to live a life of nudity. They were followers of Bhadrabahu. They came to be known as Digambara, sky clad. Jainism enjoyed the patronage of Kalinga ruler Kharvela. Perfectly correct. In the initial stage, Jainism, the worship images like the Jinas worshipped images, and like Buddhists, no, Jinas were against image worship. Image worship emerged in post-Mauryan period in 2nd century BC. So how many of the above statements are correct? Only one statement is correct. 12 number. In the context of Gupta administration, consider following statements. The provinces were known as Vishyas, provinces were known as Bhukti, districts were known as Vishya. There was no interference by state in the individual's life. Private life, state hardly interfered in India throughout history. The individuals were free to live their life as per their own understanding, as per their own terms. The roads were kept safe for travelers, and Fayan, Chinese traveler, wrote about this, that roads were safe, thieves were nowhere there, so nobody was worried. Merchants and travelers could travel freely without any inhibition. Which of the statements 2 and 3 are correct? So always keep in mind the correct, because sometimes you'll have not correct. Read the following statements regarding the conditions of women during early medieval age. Matsya Purana authorizes husband to beat his erring wife. That's correct. Matsya Purana says that husband could beat his wife on back but not on the head. The wife was not to beat on the head. So this is there, of course, evil practice. The women were denied the right to study Vedas. Women were not allowed access to Vedas. Women could hear epics and Puranas. In terms of knowledge here or education, the women were classified along with Shudras. And Shudras and women were denied access to knowledge. This phenomenon or this evil practice comes up in post-Mauryan times and continues to exist thereafter. A widow was entitled to the entire estate of her husband if he died sonless. That's correct. The practice of sati was not abolished. Sati was abolished way further in future in 1829 by William Bentinck. So Lord William Bentinck, due to the efforts made by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, abolished or prohibited sati. That continued till 1829. 1 to 3. How many are correct? 3 are correct. 14 number, consider following statement. During Gupta period, Fayan mentions about his existence, the existence of untouchables who were referred as Chandalas. Fayan, Chinese traveler, visited India. He wrote a book, Fu Kyoki. And in this book he said, Chandalas were untouchables. They used to live on the outskirts of cities. Whenever they used to enter the streets, they used to hit a log of wood, a stick of wood on ground to make sound to warn others to get aside, to avoid pollution. So pollution and purity were operating at different levels in different forms, and that is what we say untouchability. During Gupta period, women were allowed to study religious texts like Puranas. They were not allowed to study, they could hear epics and Puranas. Gupta period was popular for worship of images and religious festivals. Of course, this was the age of high level of prosperity. Prosperity is always or mostly directly proportional to the level of ceremonies. When people are rich, they get into ceremonies. When people are poor, they avoid or they can't afford ceremonies. So that way you can have some kind of common sense link. 1 and 3 are correct. Option is C. In the context of Mahajan Padas, which of the following statements is correct? No written evidence of the rise of Mahajan Padas has been found. That is wrong. Buddhist text Anguttara Nikaya. There is a famous Buddhist book, Angutara. Anguttara Nikaya and Jaina text Bhagavati Sutra. Jaina text Bhagavati Sutra and Buddhist text Anguttara Nikaya contain reference of 16 Mahajan Padas of 6th century BC. The names, location, everything are found here. The political structure of some of the Mahajan Padas was a form of oligarchy in which power was shared by a number of men. Oligarchy means group of powerful rich people. That was the form of republic there. Republic was not a true republic of modern type. This was an oligarchy, a collegiate from governments, and these guys were elected. Select the correct answer, only 2. With reference to religious life during Vedic period, consider the following statements. Main gods of early Vedic period were Prajapati, Vishnu, and Rudra. These were the main deities of later Vedic age. Prajapati Brahm, Vishnu, and Rudra. In early Vedic age, the chief god was Varuna. The only one hymn is found for Varuna in Rig Veda, but Varuna was the chief god because Varuna was maintaining the universe. Varuna was upholding Rita. A very important term, Rita. Rita means cosmic order. He was upholding cosmic order. He was maintaining this universe, and that's why Varuna was the chief god during early Vedic age. Varuna was assisted by Agni and Indra. There were other prominent deities. In early Vedic period, priesthood was a profession and was not hereditary. So it was not hereditary, strong here. Mentioned here, hereditary. It was not hereditary. The rise of Buddhism and Jainism was the direct result of priestly domination. That's perfectly correct. When Brahmana was one of the 16 categories of priest during early Vedic age, but during later Vedic age, Brahmana became the most important category of priest. And by 6th century BC, Brahmanas established their dominance on religious life. Against this Brahminical dominance, against the dominance of this Brahminical priestly class, heterodox sects, 62 heterodox sects emerged, and Buddhism and Jainism were 2 among them. 1 and 3 are correct. Only 3 is correct. 1 and 2 are wrong. It means are correct, only 3. Read the following statements about social and economic life during the reign of Harshvardhan. Both Banabhatta and Huinshan portrayed the social and economic life of this period. Perfectly correct. Banabhatta wrote his book Harshacharita and Kadambari. Very important books. Harshacharita and Kadambari. These were the books written by Banabhatta. Huinshan, Chinese traveler who visited India during 629 to 645, very important time period you have to remember. He wrote a book, Siyuki. Faiyan wrote Fukiyoki. Huinshan wrote Siyuki. Remarriage of widows was permitted? No, widow remarriage was not allowed, particularly among the higher caste. Widow remarriage was particularly prohibited among higher caste. So widow remarriage was not allowed, and particularly among higher castes. Widow remarriage was legalized in 1856. Remember these modern times also by Governor General Lord Dalhousie. So Dalhousie legalized widow remarriage in 1856. Otherwise, starting from kind of post-Gupta period, there was no practice of widow remarriage in India. As compared to Gupta period, the trade and commerce had declined definitely because of many internal and external factors. External factors: decline of Roman Empire, decline of Indo-China trade because of Tibetan-Chinese conflicts, because of beginning of sericulture or silk cultivation in Rome. Internal factors like decline of Gupta Empire, decline in the level of monetization. All these factors contributed to decline of secondary and tertiary activities in Harsha's age. 1 and 3 are correct, but look at the instruction here, not correct, only 2. Consider the following statements. During Harappan times, jewelry was placed in the burials of both men and women. Perfectly correct. The artists of Harappan civilization had fine artistic sensibilities and vivid imagination. That's why they could make beautiful sculptures, they could make beautiful paintings. We have found paintings of Harappan times on the outer surface of the pottery, and we have discovered hundreds of beautiful sculptures made of stone. Steatite, or this stone is a kind of steatite, is a kind of stone, or terracotta, baked clay, or the metals and alloys. The delineation of human and animal figures of Harappan people was of highly realistic in nature. Definitely correct. This was highly realistic in nature because they were making pictures which were almost exact as the living things are. 1, 2, 3, all are correct. You have to choose the correct one. So 1, 2, 3. Which of the following were the causes responsible for the failure of Rajputs in medieval age or early medieval age against Turks? Lack of unity among Rajputs leading to mutual conflict. Of course, Indians were always let down by the internal conflicts. When there was lack of unity among Indians, then they could not really fight together as a unit against foreigners. So foreigners took advantage of that division. Rajputs' religious zeal and their greed for greater wealth, that is not the correct factor. We had religious zeal that was quite positive. It was not that great motivating factor as was Islam for Turks, but Indian religion was not that bad. But second part is absolutely wrong. They were not greedy of wealth because there was hardly any source of wealth in early medieval age. Economic problems, lack of resources played an important role in the defeat of Rajputs against Turks. Indian temples were rich. Turks were coming to plunder the temples, but estates of the kings were relatively resourceless. They could not really defend their temples. Slow-moving cavalry of Rajputs. Slow-moving cavalry, you can say partially correct here because slow-moving army would be better word. Because cavalry, whether it is of Rajputs or anyone, it will move at the same speed. But Rajput cavalry was part of the overall army. They used to have elephant force. They used to have a lot of non-combatants with them. So Rajput army would be the better term. NCERT say cavalry, but you can modify that accordingly because cavalry, whether it is of Turks or Rajput, will not really have much of difference. But since this cavalry was part of elephant force and other part, so it could not really run ahead of others. So that way it was slow moving. Otherwise, cavalry will not be slow moving. Offensive nature of warfare, not offensive nature, defensive nature of warfare. Defensive nature means waiting for the enemy to knock at your gates, and then you pick up your weapons and fight. If you lose everything. If you win, you gain nothing. So offensive nature of warfare, offense is the best defense because you go and hit the enemy in their homes. So Rajputs were defensive in nature. 1 and 3 are correct, 2 and 4 are wrong. Choose the correct answer. We have to choose which the following causes were responsible. So 1 and 3. B. 20. In the context of different types of lands prevalent under the Sultans of Delhi, consider following pairs. Iqta land. Iqta, or sometimes written as Akhta, was a piece of land given to a military commander. Iqta was basically a kind of province or sub-provincial unit. Khalisa land. Khalisa land was a land that was under Sultan. The land in Sultanate period was divided into 2 categories. Some areas or some territories were reserved for Sultan, means revenue was collected here by central officers. Revenue was moving into central treasury directly. That was Khalisa land. and outlying areas were distributed among military commanders for administrative and other purposes. These were known as iqtas. Inam land. Inam means gift. Basically, Inam land was given to religious and non-religious purposes as a gift. So 3 will fall here. Iqta assigned to officials. Khalisa under the direct control of Sultan. So that we need to see. How many are correctly matched? None of these is correctly matched. So option is D. 21. The art and architecture of Delhi Sultan's period was distinct from traditional Indian style. In this context, which of the following statements are correct? The Turks introduced new forms of architecture like arches, domes, minarets, and decorations using Arabic script. Arabic script decoration was known as Kufi, so that name is very important. Kufi was actually the name of an angular Arabic script. This angular Arabic script was used to make decorations or used to write verses of Quran on walls and roof and gates, etc. That particular style of ornamentation also came to be known as Kufi. Mosques were constructed using materials obtained from destroying Hindu and Jaina temples. Perfectly correct. During initial phase, particularly, the material for the construction of Islamic monuments was procured by demolishing existing Hindu and Jaina temples. In the construction of Quwwatul Islam, very, very important name, Quwwatul Islam Mosque by Qutbuddin Aibak in Delhi. This is located near Qutub Minar. In the construction of Quwwatul Islam Mosque by Qutbuddin Aibak, 27 Jaina and Hindu temples were demolished, or material was procured by demolishing 27 Jaina and Hindu temples. So that was a common practice. And one more thing you have to remember, very important term for exam, for the first time or the first monument that was built in fresh material was Jamaat-e-Khana Mosque during Alauddin's reign or by Alauddin Khilji. So for the first time in Khilji period, monuments, Islamic monuments were built in fresh material by using fresh material. The buildings of Tughlaq period were constructed by using cheaper and easily available grey color stone. That's correct here. Particularly Firoz Tughlaq, they used to have buildings or constructions on a large scale, and they used cheaper varieties of stone that was locally available. How many are correct? Select the correct. How all are correct here, you can see. A tremendous progress was witnessed in literature during the patronage or under the patronage of Sultans of Delhi. Minhajuddin Siraj wrote Tabaqat-e-Nasiri. Amir Khusro wrote Tughlaq Nama. He also wrote Nusifar, Khazin al-Futuh. So Khazin al-Futuh was the most important book of Amir Khusro that you have to remember. Khazin al-Futuh, containing history of Alauddin Khilji. Kalana wrote the Raj Tarangini. Kalana was the famous Kashmiri historian. Raja Tarangini, Stream of Kings, considered to be the first truly historical work of India. Al-Baruni wrote Kitabul Hind. So, first is wrong, second is correct, third is wrong, fourth is correct. So, 2 and 4 are correct. Which of the following 2 and 4? 23. The term Tasawwuf was associated with Sufis. So, Sufis, it was a Sufi term in medieval times. Sufism in Islamic text, Tasawwuf. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the salient features of Bhakti movement? The Bhakti movement was a movement of saints like Kabir, Guru Nanak, Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram, Sankara or Sankar Dev in Assam. Then you have Lal Ded in Kashmir. Then you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal, Odisha. So remember those Bhakti saints. This movement was based on the principles of monotheism and it generally criticized idol worship. Perfectly correct. The Bhakti reformers preached that salvation could be attained only by deep devotion. That's correct. They were in favor of personal, close devotion without any priestly mediation, without any kind of rituals and ceremonies. They were putting forward a simple, liberal and progressive form of religion. The Bhakti reformers is strongly opposed to the caste system. That's correct. They were against caste system. Choose the correct. All are correct here. D. With reference to Saint Kabir, consider following statements. He was a disciple of Saint Ramanand. Of course, he was one of the 12 disciples of Ramanand. Ravidas, Dhanna, Pipa were other prominent disciples. He promoted idolatry. He was anti-idolatry. He condemned idolatry. He did not promote idolatry. Number 3, he regarded devotion to God as an effective means of salvation. That's correct. Devotion to God, commitment to God without any sculpture, without any temple, without any ritual. That was the message of Kabir. 1 and 3. 26. Consider the following statements. Ibn Battuta was a Greek. He was not a Greek. Ibn Battuta was a Moroccan traveler. He wrote Kitab-e-Rihla. So that book you should remember, Kitab-e-Rihla. He came in the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he was appointed as Qazi of Delhi by Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Ibn Battuta came through land route. That's okay, but he was not a Greek traveler. Ibn Battuta's book Kitab-e-Rihla provides extremely rich and interesting details about social and cultural life. That's correct. He talks about economy, he talks about society, he talks about Indian religion and culture in this book in great detail. Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq appointed him as Qazi of Delhi. That's correct. 2 and 3. The administration under Vijayanagar Empire was well organized. In this regard, read the following statements. The king enjoyed absolute authority in executive, judicial and legislative matters. Kings were despotic rulers. Despotic ruler means no accountability. It means king was the head of all the 3 branches of his state, executive, legislature, as well as judiciary. The empire was divided into different administrative units called mandalams, and limited powers were given to local authorities. Local authorities had a high degree of autonomy. Rashtra and mandalams were the names of provinces. And some of the provinces, particularly in peripheral areas where provincial governors were known as Nayakas, they had a very high degree of autonomy. So this is wrong here. In the matter of justice, harsh punishments, mutilation, all these things were given. That's correct. So 1 and 3 are correct here. Option is B. With reference to administrative machinery under Sher Shah's rule, consider following statements. Munsif was judge basically, related to judicial department. Shikdar was a military officer. Fautidar was a treasurer. Karkun was a clerk. Clerk basically you can say accountant or clerk. Munsif will fall here in judicial department. So 2 is correct, 3 is correct, 4th is wrong, 2 and 3. How many are correctly matched? Only 2 pairs. 29. Which of the following statements is correct about Shatak? Shatak was a cloth, very famous, world famous cloth, manufactured in Mathura region in ancient times. So this is a type of cloth of Mathura region. Read the following statements carefully about and select correct answer. Akbar made some experiments in the land revenue administration with the help of Raja Todramal. That's correct. Raja Todramal, Muzaffar Khan, they were the most important revenue officers of Akbar's time. Muzaffar Khan and Raja Todramal, they prepared the system known as Ain-e-Daisala. Remember that. Ain-e-Daisala system. Akbar adopted Mansabdari system, which was first introduced by, Akbar introduced Mansabdari system. Mansabdari system was adopted from Persia. It was originally a Mongol practice. Ain-e-Daisala system introduced during the Akbar's reign established uniform land revenue measurement system. That's correct. 1 and 3. How many? Only 2. How many are not correct? So not correct, only one. 31. The contribution of Mughals to the art of painting was remarkable. In this context, consider following statement. The foundation for the Mughal painting was laid by Humayun, not by Akbar, Humayun. Even Babur patronized painters. Who patronized Persian painters? Mir Syed Ali and Abdul Samad. So Khwaja Abdul Samad or Abdul Samad, his son Mir Syed Ali, came to India along with Humayun. When Humayun came back from Persia, Humayun had lost Indian empire to Sher-Shah Suri and he was in exile for 15 years. He lived in Persia for some time and then he brought two famous Persian painters named Khwaja Abdul Samad and Mir Syed Ali. Illustration of Persian versions of Mahabharata and Ramayana were produced in miniature during Mughal period. That's correct. This was known as narrative painting. So narrative painting was a type of painting in which stories or books were portrayed through painting. This was also known as tradition or technique of book illustration. Famous during the reign of Humayun. It was a Persian tradition. It continued under Akbar, but under Akbar, portrait painting also commenced, and thereafter portrait painting was far more popular than narrative paintings. 3. Mughal painting reached their climax during the reign of Jahangir and great progress was made in portrait painting. That's correct. Jahangir himself was a fine painter. He used to say that he could identify which part of painting was made by whom if a number of painters had worked on one single project. So he knew the techniques of different painters very, very closely. Which of the statements are correct? Number 2 and number 3. B. 32. With reference to prevalence of literature and language during Mughal period, consider following statements. Urdu language was widespread, not Urdu, Persian language. Language was widespread in Mughal times, and by Akbar's reign it was very, very widespread. Urdu emerged as a result of mix of Persian and Hindi. It was a language of common masses. It was not the language of court or elites. Aurangzeb's son Darasu. Darasu was Aurangzeb's elder brother, and they both were son of Shah Jahan. He translated Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad into Persian language. That's correct. Darasu translated Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads into Persian. That's correct. But he was not son of Aurangzeb. He was son of Shah Jahan. He was brother of Aurangzeb. Regional languages such as Bengali, Oriya, Rajasthani and Gujarati also developed. That's correct. Because Persian was in court and in regional courts, these languages were flourishing. Not correct. 1 and 2. 33. Which of the following statements are not correct regarding the Sultan Firoz Shah Bahmani? The most remarkable step taken by him was induction of Hindus in administration on a large scale. This is correct. According to Farista, he was well versed not only in Persian, Arabic and Turkish, but also in Telugu, Kannada. That is correct. Choose the correct answer. So both are correct. Both are correct means neither 1 nor 2 are incorrect. So this codification you have to see carefully. If both are correct, it means neither 1 nor 2 is incorrect, or both are not incorrect. 34. With reference to Mughal period, Norris mission was sent to India. Which of the following is in best dress for this mission? Norris mission was sent by English King William III to meet Aurangzeb to get full jurisdiction. So this was in the times of Aurangzeb. There was a fight between English and Aurangzeb because of certain issues in Red Sea. And then English King sent mission to get back the English territories or factories or resources in India. B. In the context of main features of subsidiary alliance means a kind of system that was developed by English company. Lord Wellesley imposed or used the system on a large scale to subjugate Indian states. This was based on the idea of assisting a friendly native state in wars and battles. This idea was originally brainchild of French Governor General Dupleix. Indian ruler who entered into subsidiary alliance with British had to maintain a contingent So a permanent subsidiary force was stationed in the capital of native state who signed subsidy alliance treaty. The protected Indian state was mandated to cut off its connection with other European powers. This protected Indian state could not hire any European, could not recruit any French or any other European without the permission of English company. The Indian state was supposed to keep a British resident, that's correct. The paramount power was responsible for managing internal affairs of protected state, not internal affairs. The paramount power was supposed to defend the protected state from every kind of external threat that was not supposed to interfere in internal matters of native state. So 1, 2, 3 are correct, only 3. In the context of English East India Company, which of the following statements are correct? The English company sent Captain Hawkins to the court of Mughal Emperor Akbar. Not Akbar, Jahangir. Court of Mughal Emperor Jahangir. William Hawkins was sent to court of Jahangir. Mughal Emperor Jahangir issued Farman that permitted East India Company to establish first trading outpost in Surat. This is Jahangir's Farman of 1612. Fort William was the first fort established by English company, not really. Saint Thom, Fort Saint Thom, the fort in Madras, 1639 was the first that was built by them. 1 and 3 are wrong, 2 is correct. So you have to choose the correct statements, only 2. 37. The Regulating Act of 1773 reformed the company's government at home and in India. With reference to this, consider statements. It introduced a 5-year term for office of Governor General. The Governor of Bengal was declared or was made as Governor General of Bengal. So GG of Bengal, that was the office created. The Governor General in Council was, Governor in Council means a collegiate form of government of a group was established in Bengal to eliminate possibility of misuse of powers by Governor General. And this Governor General gentleman was to be assisted by an executive council of 4 members. This combined entity was GG-in-C, Governor General in Council, Governor General plus his council. The Governor General in Council was made supreme over other presidencies matters of war and peace. So Bombay and Madras governments were subjugated to the presidency of Bengal in matters of war and peace by Regulating Act of 1773, but only in matters of war and peace. And one more point you should know here, that in 1784, when Pitt's India Act was enacted, the Bombay and Madras governments were subjugated to Bengal in all the matters. In all the matters means not only war and peace, but also in peaceful matters. This act officially permitted servants of English company, including Governor General, to take any gift. This act officially prohibited any kind of private trade, any kind of bribery, any kind of that action. So, how many are correct? Only 2. Which of the following personalities dedicated their entire life to welfare of lower caste? Jyotiba Phule, founder of Servants of India Society, Satya Sodhak Samaj, founder of Satya Sodhak Samaj. Srinarayan Guru, SNDP Yogam, founder of SNDP Yogam, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, also known as Periyar, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. All of these were dedicated to the task of upliftment of lower caste or untouchables. Select all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Identify the personality based on the information given below. He founded Brahma Samaj in 1828. He founded Atmi Sabha, so automatically you know the person was Rajaram Mohan Roy. So he set up Hindu college in Calcutta with David Hare. Rajaram Mohan Roy, that is D. In the context of progress witnessed in the field of education in 18th century, consider following. Warren Hastings established Sanskrit College. Sanskrit College in Banaras was established by Jonathan Duncan. Warren Hastings established Calcutta Madrasa. So Calcutta Madrasa was established by Warren Hastings. Sanskrit College in Banaras was established by Jonathan Duncan. Calcutta Madrasa 1781. Sanskrit College in Banaras 1791. Person was Jonathan Duncan. The Charter Act of 1813 provided for provision to spend 1 lakh rupee per annum for the spread of education. That's correct. William Bentinck provided that education should be imparted in vernacular medium at all levels. That's wrong here. The Education Resolution adopted in March or 7th of March 1835 by the Governor General in Council of William Bentinck adopted the education policy that vernacular shall be the medium of instruction at lower level, that is primary level, and at higher level the education must be imparted in English medium. So that was the Education Resolution. First is wrong, third is wrong. Which are correct? Only 2. 41. Read the following statements carefully and select the correct answer. The revolt of 1857 brought together disgruntled sections of Indian society to rise against British rule. That's correct. Dispossessed rulers, removed zamindars. So all those kind of elements who were not happy, who were adversely affected with British rule, came together to fight against them in the Great Revolt of 1857. The most important aspect of revolt was Hindu-Muslim unity. Hindus and Muslims were together. So Hindus and Muslims were together. And this unity was the hallmark of Indian history. We have never seen any communal right before 1890s. So communalism in India emerged as a result of the policies of British rule. So Hindu-Muslim unity was the hallmark here, and it was the case earlier also. The revolt of 1857 brought about fundamental changes in Indian administration, not fundamental changes, only cosmetic changes. Company was taken over by British Crown, but fundamentally the regime was same. There was no fundamental change at the level of ground. So that way you have to see. 1 and 2. Okay, 4 also. After the revolt of 1857, Governor General was given additional designation of Viceroy. Viceroy means Crown's representative. Now he was not just the administrator, he was representing Crown also. So he was having additional designation of Viceroy. 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Because 3 is wrong here. 42. With reference to Theosophical Society, consider following statements. It was founded in United States by H.S. Alcott, not by Annie Besant. Annie Besant joined it and she was the president in India. H.P. Blavatsky and Alcott. The Theosophists recognized the doctrine of transmigration of soul and preached spirit of universal brotherhood. Correct. The Theosophists advocated the revival and strengthening of ancient religions of Hinduism. That's correct. Theosophists were liberal, progressive. Adyar near Madras was the headquarters of Theosophical Society. That you have to remember. Correct. 2 and 3. 43. Consider following statements. Swami Dayanand Saraswati propagated the idea of idol worship. He was anti-idol worship. He condemned idol worship ritual ceremonies. He was against child marriage and caste system. That's correct. He started Shuddhi movement to bring back purification movement, Ghar Wapsi of that time, to bring back Hindus or to bring back Indians into Hindu system, those who were left in the system because of any reason, to strengthen unity. Lala Lajpat Rai was a follower of Arya Samaj, which was founded by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. That's correct. Correct. 2 and 3. In the context of permanent settlement of land revenue, read the following statements carefully. This land revenue system was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, not Lord Hastings. Cornwallis in 1793. Charles Cornwallis. Under this system, the right of ownership of land was made hereditary and transferable. Of course, the zamindars were declared as owner of land. So they were the owner of land. They could divide the property, they could sell property, they could mortgage it, they could distribute it. It was their personal property. Under the system, the initial fixation of revenue was made arbitrarily with or without any consultation with peasants. You can say so because revenue was fixed through highest bidding or auction method. Zamindars were asked to put forward bids, and anybody who put forward highest bid was declared as the zamindar. So peasants were not taken into consideration. Peasants were not part of the process. They had to just remain at the mercy of zamindar. 2 and 3 are correct. 45. Read the following statements about Nehru report. This report demanded Purna Swaraj for India, not Purna Swaraj. It was demanding dominion status or Swaraj. Purna Swaraj resolution was adopted in December 1929 at Lahore. That was formal resolution. Before that also in December 27 at Madras session, Congress had a kind of unofficially accepted or informally accepted Purna Swaraj as its objective. So that is very, very important. If question comes, when did Congress for the first time adopt Purna Swaraj resolution? That was Madras session. Complete independence was demanded by Congress at its Madras session in 1927 for the first time, and then formally it was adopted in December 1929 at Lahore. The Nehru report favored the establishment of full responsible government at the center. That's correct. Autonomy to the provinces was demanded through this report. That's correct. It proposed a system of bicameral legislature at the center. Bicameral means two houses, upper house and lower house. That's correct. So 3 are correct among these 4 points. 46. Which of the following acts commissions were introduced in India in the tenure of Lord Curzon? Indian Universities Act by Curzon, 1904. Andrew Fraser Police Commission, 1902 by Curzon. Hunter Commission on Education, this is 1882-83 by Ripon. Ancient Monuments Act by Curzon, that's correct. Irrigation Commission, C.S. Moncrief. Colin Scott Moncrief Commission, that also you must remember. Colin Scott Moncrief Commission was also appointed by Lord Curzon for the promotion of irrigation facilities. 1, 2 and 4. 47. With reference to demands put forward by the leaders of moderates group of Congress, consider following statements. Expansion and reforms of legislative councils. They were in favor of greater powers to the legislative councils. They wanted more entry, more Indians in these councils. Granting dominion status to India, that was not the demand of moderates, that is wrong. Dominion status was demanded by extremists. Separation of judiciary from executive, that's correct. Abolition of salt tax and sugar duty, that is Gandhian period phenomena. So 1 and 3, only 2. B. 48. The non-cooperation movement was a political campaign launched by Mahatma Gandhi. About the features, see the points here. Participation of different sections of Indian society such as peasants, workers, student, teachers was witnessed on a large scale. Correct. For the first time, peasants participated. Students, teachers, women participated in Home Rule movement also earlier, in Swadeshi movement also to some extent. It led to spread of nationalism to remote corners in villages also. Correct. This movement witnessed high level of Hindu-Muslim unity initially because of Khilafat issue. Hindu and Muslims fought together against British in non-cooperation movement because non-cooperation and Khilafat were together like twin movements. This movement was characterized by large-scale violence against British. There was no violence. One violent incident happened, that was Chori Chora incident, and because of that Chori Chora incident, Mahatma Gandhi called it off. 22 policemen were burnt alive at Chori Chora. That was the only violent incident, and that was the reason why this movement was suddenly called off by Mahatma Gandhi. 1 to 3. The fact of our isolation from all other nations of the world is the cause of our degeneration. Who said? Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda wanted that we should be closely linked with the outside world. We should be getting good things from the outside world. We should be giving our good things to the outside world. There must be active interaction. Active interaction was the key to regular, periodic or sustained growth. The Crisp mission proposed which are the following recommendations. It proposed Purna Swaraj in a way. India could leave British Commonwealth, or India could leave British Empire by signing a treaty, or Constituent Assembly was to sign a treaty covering all the matters arising out of complete transfer of responsibilities into Indian hands. So that was Purna Swaraj. Provide for protection of minorities, that's correct. It proposed for the setting up of a Constituent Assembly, that's correct. Select the correct answer 1 to 3. With reference to Minto Model reforms, consider following statements. These reforms were introduced to win support of extremist group, not extremist group, moderate groups. Extremists were suppressed by using force. Tilak was sent to Mandalay for 6 years in 1908, and then moderates were to be conciliated with the help of these reforms. Under these reforms, separate electorates were introduced for Muslims for the first time, Muslims as well as landlords. These reforms sought to establish a parliamentary, no. There was no such intention. Intention was to conciliate moderates, divide and rule India. Because extremists were to be suppressed, moderates were to be conciliated, and British were supposed to rule India for a long time. Only 2. Not correct, 1 and 3. In the context of Rayatwari system, consider for following statement. Rayatwari system means it was a system of land revenue. Rayat means peasant. Rayatwari system, peasant was to pay his land revenue to the government directly, and this system was introduced in Madras Presidency in 1820 by Thomas Munro, Governor of Madras. It was introduced in parts of Bombay Presidency in 1825 by Mount Stuart Elphinstone, the Governor of Bombay at that time. This system of land revenue was instituted in the late 18th century by Warren Hastings, not by Warren Hastings in any way. Under the system, the taxes were directly collected by the government from peasants, that's correct. The Rayats were relieved from paying the revenue when his produce was partially, there was no such protection. These protections were added later on, and then you will link them with the Kheda Satyagraha. But that's a later change, not here in the beginning. Only 2. Not correct, 1 and 3. 53. With reference to Servants of Indian Society, consider following statement. It was a non-profit organization founded by Gopal Hari Deshmukh, not Dadabhai Naoroji. It was founded to unite and train Indians to fight against British, not fight against British rule, it was for social, cultural matters. It was the first secular organization in country to devote itself to betterment of underprivileged, tribal and rural people. That's correct, only 3. Correct, only 3. 54. In the context of Mahatma Gandhi, which among the following statements is correct? He acknowledged Gopal Krishna Gokhale as his political mentor and guru. So Gokhale was guru of Mahatma Gandhi, and Gokhale's guru was V.V. Joshi. He developed the technique of Satyagraha during his resistance against the British in Champaran. No. He developed technique of Satyagraha in South Africa. So while fighting in South Africa, he developed technique of Satyagraha that was perfected and that was used in India on a larger scale, first being Champaran Satyagraha. Correct one, only 1. Consider following events associated with Indian national movement. Gandhi event pact, all these. You have to arrange chronologically. So Gandhi event pact was on 5th of March 1931. Through this pact, CDM was suspended. Dandi March, 12th of March, it is started, 1930. Purna Swaraj Resolution, December 1929. Lahore Congress was presided over by Jawaharlal Nehru. Bardoli Peasant Movement, 1928, led by Sardar Patel. During this movement, the women of Bardoli gave him title of Sardar. 4-3-2-1. With reference to Mopla rebellion, consider following statements. The Moplas were Hindu, not Hindu, Muslim tenants. In Malabar region of Kerala, the grievances of Moplas centered around lack of security of tenure. So they were tenants, and like every other tenant in India, they were exploited by landlords. Here the feeling of exploitation was much more. The pain of exploitation was much more because these Moplas were Muslim tenants of Arab descent, and the landlords were Nambudri and Nair Brahmanas of Indian origin. This rebellion was witnessed during the time of non-cooperation movement because local Congress committee asked Moplas to jump in anti-British struggle, but since discontent was against landlords, they started attacking. Since landlords were Hindus, Moplas were Muslim, it became communal in character. 2 and 3. 57. Mahatma Buddha founded Sanghas, or the organizations of monks, to propagate teachings in this regard. Consider. Both men and women were allowed in Sanghas. Initially, Buddha was not in favor of entry of women, but due to the insistent demand of his foster mother Prajapati Gautami and chief disciple Anand, he allowed women to enter Sangha. Buddha's foster mother Mahaprajapati Gautami was the first woman to enter, that's correct. The internal functioning of Sangha was based on traditional ganas or republics of ancient times, where discussions and debates and votings and consensus were used as tool to have final decision. 1 to 3, all are correct. All the 3. Consider following animals: lion, elephant, bull and buffalo found in the Ashokan pillars. No buffalo. Bull, elephant, lion. Lion, single lion, 4 lions sitting back to back, we can find. Sanchi Sarnath pillars have 4 lions sitting back to back. Single lion, Rampurva pillar, Vaishali pillar. Elephant, Sankisa pillar. Bull, one of the Rampurva pillars has bull. So that is, you need to see. 1 to 3. 59. With reference to Defence of India Act 1915, consider following statements. It was an emergency civil, not civil law, criminal law. It was a criminal law, not civil law, enacted with the intention of curtailing the nationalist and revolutionary activities during First World War. That's correct. Sorry, that's not correct because it was not a civil law. But that declaration of these parts are correct except this civil law. This act allowed suspects to be tried by special tribunals, each consisting of 3 commissioners. That's correct. Only 2. 60. Which of the following statements are correct regarding Communal Award? Communal Award was announced by British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald. So Ramsay MacDonald. It is also known as MacDonald Award. Award means order, declaration. It was announced by Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald after the end of 2nd round table conference, not 3rd. After the end of 2nd round table conference. According to this, the depressed classes were considered as separate community. That's correct. Pune Pact was associated with this, of course. 71 seats were allotted to depressed classes. Gandhiji thought this was a tool of British to divide Indians along the lines of caste, upper caste, lower caste. They had already divided Indians on the lines of religion, Hindus and Muslims. So Gandhiji went on a fast into death, and finally the settlement was made with the intervention of Madan Mohan Malviya. That was Pune Pact. Congress agreed to leave 147 seats voluntarily for depressed classes, and depressed classes agreed to leave the seats given by, or the reservation given by, Communal Award. Though officially it remained on paper, it was not accepted by Indians. 2 and 3 are correct. 61. Gada Party, initially named as Pacific Coast India Association, was founded in 1913 in the United States. Who were associated? Lala Hardayal was the main, Baba Gurmukh Singh, Sohan Singh Bakhna, Rahmat Ali Khan, Muhammad Al Barkatullah, Bhai Permanent, all were part of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 62. The context of Simon Commission, consider following statements. It was appointed during the tenure of Viceroy Lord Curzon, not Curzon. It was 1927, November 1927. That time Governor General was Lord Irwin. Irwin was from 26 to 31. It was appointed to look into the question of further constitutional reforms, that's correct. It was to review the existing constitutional arrangement in India, and it was to suggest the ways to either curtail, extend or modify the existing system. All the members of this commission were Europeans, that's correct, all were white. It was a 7-member commission headed by Sir John Simon, and all the 7 members were Europeans. That was the main reason why Indians boycotted or opposed it. 2 and 3, correct. 63, with reference to Jahandar Shah, later Mughal ruler, he was a man of extremely pathetic manners. He used to roam around with a lady called Lal Kunwar in vegetable market. The women selling vegetable in that market used to abuse him and often used to throw spoiled potatoes, tomatoes at him, but still he did not deter. So he was not a person of good manners. He rapidly reversed the policy of Aurangzeb. He followed liberal policy. Jizya was abolished by him. He adopted the policy of friendly relations with towards 6 with Marathas. 2. Not correct, 1 and 3. Which of the following personalities joined Mahatma Gandhi in Kheda? Vallabhbhai Patel, not Tilak, not Jawaharlal Nehru, Indulal Yagnik, Mahadev Desai, Anugrah Narayan Sinha. These were the prominent leaders who joined Mahatma Gandhi during Champaran Satyagraha. Or sorry, not Champaran. We are talking about Kheda here. So Kheda, these are 2. In Champaran Satyagraha, Mahadev Desai and Anugrah Narayan Sinha joined. So here only these 2. Kheda was 1918. Champaran was 1917. 1 and 4. 65. The period of 1930s witnessed rapid growth of socialist ideas within and outside Congress. Consider following statement. In the Lucknow session 1936, Jawaharlal Nehru urged Congress to accept socialism as its goal. That's correct. The Great Depression of 1929 contributed to a rise of socialism in India. That's correct. Both are correct. With reference to the treaties signed during 18th and 19th centuries, consider following statements. Treaty of Madras was signed in 1769 between Hyder Ali and English Company, not Tipu Sultan. Company and Hyder Ali, not correct. Treaty of Lahore, 1846, between Dilip Singh and Company. That's correct. Treaty of Salbai, 1782, between Marathas and English Company. Correct. Treaty of Sringapattinam, 1792, between Tipu Sultan and English Company. Not correct. 2 and 3 correct. Correct. 2 and 3, only 2 pairs. Which of the following constituted the home charges? Home charges means expenditures carried out by company till 1858, British government after 1858 in London on behalf of India. Dividend paid to shareholders or incentives given to shareholders, savings and salaries of companies officials working in London, their pension, etc. European traders, planted, these are part of European finance capital mechanism, not home charges. Pension to those who retired from civil and military services. They worked in India but retired in London. Those who worked in London, retired there, they also got pension, so that was also part of home charges. Interest for the loans obtained from banks or raised in London or Europe, they were also part of home charges. 1, 2, 4, 5. 68. Who among the following were a part of Battle of Buxar? Suzaud-Dola, not Siraj-ud-Dola. Mir Qasim, not Mir Jafar. Shah Alam II. That's correct. Only 3. 69. With reference to objectives of Wood's dispatch. Wood's dispatch was for education advancement, to impart Indian knowledge, not Indian knowledge, Western education. Western culture was to be promoted, to educate natives of India so that a class of public servants could be created, Indian in blood and color but European identities. This is what Macaulay said in 1835. And that approach continued. Indians were to be imparted Western education so that they could be used as clerks in administration at low cost. To promote intellectual development and also raise the moral character, that's correct. 2 and 3. 4. To develop practical and vocational skills of Indian people, that is also correct here. How many are not correct? It's only 1. How many are not correct? So only 1 is not correct. That is A. Consider following statement. T.B. Macaulay was India's first law member in Governor General's Executive Council. This office of law member was created by Charter Act of 1833. This law member was to participate in Governor General's Executive Council. That time there were 3 members in the Executive Council of Governor General, and Governor General was the boss. So he was to participate as a 4th member whenever the council was to meet for legislative purposes. So for the first time, legislature and executive functions of GG&C were segregated to some extent. The Anglicists led by Charles Trevelyan wanted to impart Western education in English medium. That's correct. Macaulay argued that Western education should be imparted in English medium, not in vernacular. He was in favor of Anglicists. Orientalists wanted that traditional Indian knowledge should be imparted in vernacular medium. 1 and 2. 71. Which of the following languages scripts were used in Ashokan inscriptions? Prakrit was a language. Aramaic, Greek, Kharosti and Brahmi were the scripts. So Brahmi also. 1, 2, 3, 4, all were there. With the reference to Indian national movement, consider following pairs. Dandi March was during CDM. Civil disobedience movement, Gandhiji went on the march here to break salt law. Champaran Satyagraha was in 1917 for indigo cultivators problems. Kheda was in 1918 for peasant Satyagraha. Ahmedabad mill was for cotton, so these were also wrong. 2 is correct. 1, 2, 1, 3, 4 wrong. How many are correct? Only 1. 73. In the context of literary progress witnessed during modern times, consider following. Bipin Chandra, History of Modern India, Dhananjay Keer, Ambedkar, Sumit Sarkar, Modern India 1885-47, Raj Mohan Gandhi, Rajaji's story. So that's how you need to see. How many pairs are correctly matched? 1 and 2. These are not correctly matched. So only 2 pairs. 74. Indian independence movement witnessed powerful mass movement with the name Home Rule Movement. So it's spread by among the following. Home Rule Movement was having 2 branches. One was the Pune branch headed by B.G. Tilak, and second was the Adyar or Madras branch headed by Mrs. Annie Besant. So Tilak and Mrs. Annie Besant, 1916, both were launched. 75. Which among the following statements is correct regarding provisions of Lucknow Pact, 1916? Provinces should be freed from central control. They should have highest possible autonomy. All members of central and provincial council should be elected, not all, but they wanted the majority of members should be elected. Franchise should be as broad as possible. Voting rights. Franchise means voting rights. Except viceroy, all members of executive council should be Indians. No, there should be more number of Indians. 1 and 3 correct. 2 and 4 wrong. So B. 76. With reference to Rashtrakutas, read the following. The Rashtrakutas were in Deccan during early medieval age. This kingdom was founded by Danti Durga in 753 AD, who set up with capital Manyakhet. Manyakhet or Mankhet was the capital of Rashtrakutas. They were tolerant towards all religions. Shaivism, Vaishnavism all flourished. And for Rashtrakuta period, you have to remember the cave number 16 at Ajanta, not Ajanta, sorry. Cave number 16 at Ellora, famously known as Kailash Temple, the biggest monolithic monument in whole world. Cutting of this cave was started by Raskota King Krishna first. The great Upbranch poet Swambhu was believed to have lived in Raskota Court. That's correct. 1 and 3 are correct. D. 77. Which of the following kings of ancient India are mentioned in Ahol, Harshvardhan and Pulkesin II? This inscription was composed by Ravi Kirti. Ravi Kirti was court poet of Pulkesin II. So he said that when Sakalo Uttarabatha, the term is Sakalo Uttarabatha. Her name of Harsha is not directly mentioned, but this Sakal Uttarabatha, Sakal of Uttarabatha means overlord of North India. When he tried to cross river Narmada, he was defeated by Pulkesin II, and this Sakal Uttarabatha has been identified with Harshvardhan, so that way you have to see it closely. 1 and 3. With reference to Rajput states in early medieval India, consider following statement. Parmars were of Malwa, Chauhans were of Delhi, Ajmer, Tomars were of Delhi, Tomars established Delhi, Chandelas were of Bundelkhand. So 1 and 2 are wrongly matched, 3 and 4 are correctly matched. How many pairs are correctly matched? 2 pairs. 79. Briha Jatak is a prominent work astrology by Varahamihir. Varahamihir was a famous astronomer, mathematician in Gupta age. So that way you have to see him. 79. 80. Read the following statements carefully about administrative, religious and cultural life in Peninsular India. Pallava administration was highly centralized, unlike that of Chola. Cholas were highly centralized. Pallavas were less centralized. Cholas used to have an officer known as Adhikari at the level of village, and this Adhikari was appointed by king directly. Village autonomy was present under Pallavas. It was present under Cholas also. Cholas were having a kind of balance between centralization and decentralization. They had highly centralized, but some of the villages used to have Sabha, Mahasabha as local representative units. This starts under Pallavas. Cholas had a great maritime power. Definitely they conquered overseas territories with the help of that. 2 and 3. The Chalukyan rulers did not give any importance to Vedic rituals. That's wrong here. They gave importance to Vedic rituals. They performed Vedic sacrifices. Not correct. 1 and 4. That is B. 81. Now questions are of current developments. So history, art, culture questions are done now. Questions are coming from the topics of current issues. In the context of open market sale scheme, read the following statements. It's a program implemented by FCI, that's correct, for sale of food grains during crisis or whenever there is excess food grain, FCI is going to sell into open market to keep the prices stable. This scheme facilitates the purchase, not purchase, sale of surplus food grains, primarily wheat. So that is wrong here. This is going to sale so that market has stable prices. Only one. 82. Recently, the government has launched a Vaibhav Fellowship program. In this context, consider the following statements. So, it is an initiative that aims to bring together top global Indian researchers. That's correct here. This scheme was implemented by Ministry of Science and Tech, not Ministry of Education. Under the scheme, applicant must be person of Indian origin. That's correct here. OCI, PIO, NRI. Only 2. 83. In recent time, the term cloud kitchen. Cloud kitchen means you have only restaurants and from their deliveries are made. You cannot go and eat in cloud kitchen. It refers to the place where food is prepared and delivered to the doorstep via calls and online or whatever, apps, Swiggy, Zomato. Capital expenditure on setting cloud kitchen is relatively less because you don't have to worry about the visitors. You have to have only kitchen for cooking the food. Only one. 84. With reference to Gandhi Peace Prize, consider following statements. It is awarded annually to individuals and institutions for their contribution towards social, economic, political transformation. That's correct. Jury of this is prize chaired by Prime Minister along with 2 ex officio members. That's correct. Award is conferred by president, not by vice president, by president. Vice president does not confer any award. So only 2. 85. Consider following statement. Third-party insurance policy. Third-party insurance is a policy that the owner of the vehicle has to have to shield him from any claim. First party is the driver. Second party is the vehicle. Third party is the person who might get hurt by your vehicle. Third party insurance for motor vehicle is mandatory. This is at least third party is necessary. You can have first party. Third party insurance is available for both commercial and private vehicles. That's correct. 1 and 3. Third party is cheaper because you don't claim for the vehicle, you don't claim for the driver. Recently, Gender Gap Report 2023 was released. This report provides a comprehensive assessment of gender gap under how many of the 4 pillars: economic participation, education, health, survival, not social empowerment but political empowerment. Except for all other 3 are there. 1, 2, 3, 5. 87 National Working Plan Code (NWPC) was released recently. What is this? This plan was released by Indian Council of Forest Research and Education. That's correct. NWPC does the scientific management of different forest divisions. That's correct. India is not the only country. There are many others, particularly in Europe. So this is wrong here. 1 and 2. With reference to MQ-9 Reaper drone, American drone, read the following statements carefully. It is an unmanned vehicle for autonomous flight operations. It has been designed by American agencies, not by DRDO. It can be used for surveillance and strikes. It is both offensive as well as defensive weapon. India is procuring Reaper drone. India has been promised Reaper drone by Americans. That's why the issue is in import paper here for you. It's with reference to Dugdh Sankalan Sathi mobile app, which is the following. So Dugdh means milk. It aims to improve the quality of milk and the streamline operations of grassroots village, including milk cooperative society. That is the correct option here. Consider following statement regarding Indian skimmer. Skimmer is a kind of duck, a water bird, you can say. Chambal River is an important nesting site for Indian skimmer. This is correct. It is not vulnerable. This is endangered. So it's far more threatened than vulnerable. That is number A is only correct. 91. In the context of Indus X, consider following. It's a defense acceleration system. Indian Ministry of Defense and US, not Russian, US Ministry of Defense. This collaboration platform aims to harness potential of a startup. That's correct here. Only 2. 92. With reference to L20 summit, part of G20, Labour 20, it is a meeting of labor union leaders. That's correct. It is convened by International Trade Union Confederation. That's correct. It focuses on the important topics of universal social security. That's correct. 1, 2, 3, all are correct here. Option is C. 93. Identify the location on the basis of given information. It is a landlocked region in South Caucasus. It is known as Artsakh by Armenians. It is internationally recognized as a part of oil-rich Azerbaijan. This is the Nagorno-Karabakh region where Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting since a long time. They are fighting to get hold of this oil-rich region, and fighting has been quite intense since many months. Consider following statements about the Intersolar Europe 23. It is the world's leading exhibition of solar industry. Correct. The focus areas, event for grid infrastructure, all these. Indian Renewable Energy Corporation, this is the organized by some German agency. Indians participate, not Indian agency. 1 and 2, only 2 are correct. 95. Recently, Google launched the language program to support Indian news publications. Which of the Indian language is part of this? Kannada is there, Tamil is there, Marathi, there, Bengali, they are not. Punjabi in that. So Punjabi is not there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 96. In the context of biodiversity, beyond national jurisdiction treaty, read the statement. It is an international agreement on the conservation and sustainable use of maritime biological diversity. Correct. It encompasses the high seas beyond which, that's correct here. The treaty mandates signatory countries to conduct environmental assessment of proposed activities, that's correct. All the three are correct here. Option is C. With reference to RNA vaccine, the vaccines are of multiple types. One of the vaccine is RNA vaccine that was developed by, if you know, Pfizer BioNTech, and Indian agency Gemcovac also developed this. It uses a small piece of genetic material, that's correct, to instruct cells to produce defense mechanisms. India has produced Gemcovac. It is administered without needle, so this is basically going to penetrate into the skin without any needle, so this will be penetrating into skin through slight pressure, so person won't even feel. 1 and 3, only 2. 98, with reference to the construction and demolition waste concept for statement, it includes concrete, timber, all these things which are generated by demolition of buildings. Delhi has emerged as a front runner for seed waste recycle, that's correct. Hazardous waste management rule, not hazardous waste management, construction and demolition waste management rules 2016 are going to manage this, only 2. 99, with reference to Dakshita, consider following statements. It is a comprehensive guidance for government officials seeking to develop capacity building skill, that's nice, correct here. The iGot Karmyogi platform serves as a comprehensive online portal for Dakshita, that's correct. Both are correct. Now come to the last question. The term Gonkoken nanoi, sometimes seen in news, is related to a dinosaur. Dinosaur species that roamed earth during the Cretaceous period. So dear students, this was a discussion of today's test paper here. I hope all of you have checked your answers and you have got key inputs through this discussion. In case of any other difficulty, you are free to contact me through teacher support, or you can come and see me in the office here. I'm always there to help you. So keep learning, keep moving ahead. All the best. God bless you.